Alright, what's going on, guys? Back here today with another video. In this video I'm just going back to my existing CD collection, so continuing down the alphabet. I've been meaning to do this particular one for a long time, except other things have come up like collection updates and interesting threads and tags. So this one, it's been in the making for, I don't know, a couple of months, but I finally got around to it. So I thought I can't put this off any longer. I have more ideas, but this is one I just would like to get through today. So the band I'm going to be talking about today needs no introduction. One of my favorite death metal bands of all time, and death metal veterans, legends in the genre, and that's of course Deicide. So some contention about the pronunciation. I'm originally from Australia, so that's how I pronounce it, Deicide. Other people say Deicide, but anyway, you all know who they are. Fantastic band, extremely brutal and uncompromising, and they've had a really impressive discography, which I'm going to talk about today. So with some of these I've already spoken about. Also, I have quite a few albums to get through, so I'm not going to go into an excessive amount of detail, I promise. But just to let you know, I can't do a ranking discographies for this band because actually I don't own all of their albums. I own most of them, but there's some where I've either just not got around to picking them up or I actually parted ways with them, so I'll talk about that a bit later. But anyway, yeah, this band's been around since 1990, and there's been a few lineup changes along the way, but honestly, I think they just get better and better as a band, especially in terms of the musicianship and production, so we'll just get straight into this today. So going back to the first album of their career, this is the self-titled album, Deicide, which I have spoken about before. Check out my video called Death Metal Vinyl Volume 3, I talk about this one in quite a lot of detail. It's, as I've mentioned, this is one of my favorite death metal bands, albums of all time, like in my top 5 albums, like absolutely flawless, brilliant, 10 out of 10. And it's just, the way I described it, it's very raw, wicked guitar-driven death metal again with drums in the foreground, extremely brutal, but also like hypnotic and catchy. And of course featuring Glenn Benton's double-tracked vocals, you know, with the high-pitched screams and the guttural growls, which became a trademark of this band. But yeah, I've already spoken about this, so I won't say too much about it. Go and watch my link video if you'd like to see that, Death Metal Vinyl Volume 3. But this album features 10 tracks. They're all brilliant in my opinion, but just some of my absolute favorites, as I've mentioned, are Sacrificial Suicide, Oblivious to Evil, Dead by Dawn, Deicide, Mephistopheles, and Crucifixation. But like, honestly, all 10 tracks are brilliant, so you just can't go wrong with this album. If you haven't heard it, it's essential, like death metal classic, so Deicide with Deicide. Alright, coming up to the next album in their discography. This is Legion from 1992. So I have mentioned this in a thread video, but I haven't spoken about it in a lot of detail. But basically, you have more of the same thing on this album. Like, but what I will say in comparison to the first one is that this one sort of rose to new levels of technicality. And it's interesting because although it's technical, it's also pummeling, like it's just loaded with blast beats. The drumming is actually nuts and one of the highlights of this album. But apart from the fact that it's technical, it's also catchy. They still have those hypnotic breakdowns and really catchy groovy parts where you're nodding your head. So this album's got absolutely everything. It's like just some crazy rhythms and blast beats. Like Steve Ashheim is one of the best drummers in death metal, and just interesting rhythms which this band, you know, it's unique. I think they've always done that, and this album has some just really hypnotic, twisted stuff. So awesome release. This was the first album I heard by them back in the day, like I was about 16 years old, so it has a special place in my heart, and I just know this album back to front, heard it so many times. Just show you the booklet. So you have the lyric sheet printed here, it's very nice, and the Trifixion design, which has become iconic for this band. And the disc itself, yep, you just have the Trifixion again. Yeah, so by the way, this artwork is just really iconic. I really like it. 8 tracks on this, like honestly, I could name each and every one. That's how good the album is. Like, there's perhaps a couple that don't stand out as much, but like I'd say 6 out of the 8 tracks are standouts to me, namely being Dead But Dreaming. That is just awesome. Also, Trifixion. Some of my other favorites, Behead the Prophet, No Lord Shall Live. Oh, that song just like soars for the heights with the intensity and everything, and like the blasting and the crazy manic solos and everything, fantastic. Also Holy Deception, that's got like a really hypnotic rhythm and great catchy vocal patterns as well. In Hell I Burn is like, that was one of the ones back in the day, it sort of subtly grew on me, and I realized it's one of the best songs. Like, you know, that straightforward riff in the chorus, like dan 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 dan, but it's just incredibly catchy again, especially with the vocal patterns in the chorus. And then Revocate the Agitator just at the end, like just a brilliant way to close the album, just like mechanical, hypnotic, and fucking extreme and fast. It's just great. So if you want to absolutely get pummeled with blast beats, but also a lot of warped, twisted rhythms and hypnotic grooves, definitely listen to this album. I remember actually, I think it was Glenn Benton or the band themselves said they didn't really like this album very much because they thought it was too technical, but I think that despite being technical, it's still extremely catchy. So yeah, if you haven't heard it, definitely check it out. Another one of my favorite death metal albums of all time, and I would say this one is 10 out of 10 too. So that's Deicide with Legion. Okay. All right. Okay, up next we have the following album. I have put a disclaimer up about explicit cover art and also song titles, so if you're easily sensitive, you're probably not watching this video anyway, so it doesn't matter. But the next album, this is Once Upon the Cross, which came out in 1995. Again, a very nostalgic album for me, like when I was in year 11 or grade 11, that was 1995. Yeah, that's when I bought this album, and just shortly after Legion actually, and really liked this album. It showed a change in style a bit. So on this album they sort of toned down the technicality and they went for more of a groove oriented straightforward approach, so sort of like slowing it down a bit, but definitely not wimping out, just like making it groovier and catchier. By the way, the production on this album is really good. It's got this kind of how would I describe it, like sort of flat sound, like there's not much reverb on it, but like the guitars are so heavy. Like I remember, I think it was Mark, you commented, like you said, it sounds like 100 guitars overdubbed on it, like just incredibly heavy, crunchy sound, and the vocals are really low and guttural, and they've got some echo on them. Really good, and just the drum sound is absolutely perfect. Obviously the drums have always been a big part of Deicide, and you just hear like those fills and the blast beats and everything, they're just absolutely brilliant. So yeah, really good album once again. I would say it's not one of my favorite albums by the band, but I still like it because it's something different and it had its own unique character. Like no other albums have really sounded like this. So again, disclaimer, you see the cover here, so in the sheet, and you've got that, and the lyrics and everything. Pretty cool picture of the band there. Yeah, so I mean, Deicide lyrically, it's always been specializing in the occult and anti-Christianity. For me, look, I'll be completely honest, like you see how overtly explicit these lyrics are. Like I don't get particularly, it's like I'm not bothered with that topic so much, like I don't get so worked up about it, but yeah, it's just a lyrical theme that the band's gone with, so you know, I just like the fact that they've really created a niche for themselves with this music. But anyway, this is a really good album. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Now they don't have the track listing on the back, but again, there's no bad tracks on this. So Once Upon the Cross is the title track, of course, but that is a very good song actually. Like they also experiment with a lot of different rhythms, so like they have sort of slower interludes and then fast blast beats. So again, a variety of tempos, but this album's got more of a sort of chugging groove to it. But yeah, some of my favorite songs on this would be Christ Denied, that's a very hypnotic album. When Satan Rules His World, that was the one that really stood out to me when I was younger, just with that catchy main riff and the guitar solos over the top, brilliant. Trick or Betrayed was one that it was never a standout track, but then I realized a bit later on, like the chorus is incredibly catchy, so it's one of the catchiest songs. Subtly it grew on me. My absolute favorite track on the album though is They Are the Children of the Underworld, just so groovy and heavy. And I remember when I saw the band performing that song live in Sydney when I went to see them 2006, I think, that song absolutely went off. Like it's a real headbanger, that song, They Are the Children of the Underworld. Then Behind the Light, Thou Shalt Rise is a good one. To Be Dead is a nice hypnotic one as well, like really good. And yeah, so pretty much every song on the album is great. Yeah, so yeah, slightly different approach for the band, but still a really good one, so definitely check it out. That's Deicide with Once Upon the Cross. Okay, now this is where I have some gaps in the collection. You'll know that the one that came after this one was Serpents of the Light. I've actually owned that twice and sold it back twice, and I don't know why, because I do recall it's a pretty good album. I think the production was a little bit cheesy though, but that had some very good songs. I need to go back and give that album a chance and see if I we'll buy it back a third time. Anyway, after that, the next album was Incinerate Him, and I did own that as well, except I had to throw the CD out because my disc got damaged. It got something on it, like I think candle wax or something, so it was unplayable basically. But Incinerate Him was one of the albums where I think they were rushing to finish their contract with Roadrunner, and they just did a couple of rush job albums. So the band themselves said that album's not very good and a lot of people hate it. But Incinerate Him, I did like a few tracks on that. Like it was really good. Like what was the really good song on that? The Gift That Keeps On Giving. Yeah, and Refusal of Penance. They did have some good tracks on that, so I did like it. Anyway, the other rush job album, so-called supposedly, that they did after that was In Torment in Hell. So if you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I actually included this in my 10 terrible albums in your collection video. And can I say something? I know sometimes a man is wrong, but I retract that statement. This is not a terrible album. It's quite funny, when I listened to this again recently, properly, it actually sounded the freshest to me because it's one of the ones I've heard the least. And in the terrible albums video, I actually said that the production on this album is really muddy. Actually, it's not. It's quite good. The only thing is, I will say, in comparison to other Deicide albums, it's really not up to scratch. Like, you can tell there are some songs which, you know, just sound a bit shonky, like Imminent Doom and everything. But like, there are some really catchy songs on this, and it's sort of in the vein of Once Upon the Cross. It's a bit slowed down and everything, but there's still some groovy, catchy parts, and like you know, again with the vocal patterns and the riffs, it still is brutal and heavy. So I do really like it. So I mentioned in that previous video when I was talking about this album, my favorite songs are Child of God, Let It Be Done, and Lurking Among Us. But upon recent listen, I also really like Vengeance Will Be Mine. Like, that's classic Deicide basically. And also Worry in the House of Thieves. Just really catchy vocal patterns with the riffs, the interplay between those, it's really, really good. So yeah, definitely, I wouldn't say this is an essential Deicide album, but you know, worth checking out anyway. And once again, I retract my previous statement. It's not a terrible album, it's just maybe not as good as some of the others. Just a moment. Sorry about that. Just had to turn off the washing machine, it was beeping at me. Okay, yeah, so here is the booklet anyway. Again, readable lyrics, which is nice. Yep, and yeah, the artwork's quite interesting as well. Yeah, so I wouldn't say this is absolutely essential, but worth checking out anyway. So, and as I said, it's not that terrible after all. So Deicide with In Torment in Hell. Okay. So they were the two so-called rush job albums, the Incinerate Him and In Torment in Hell. Then the band signed to Earache, and they came back with this absolutely amazing album. This is Deicide with Scars of the Crucifix. And you can see how they were perhaps holding back their really good material for this album. Sorry, the case is cracked on this. But this is still the original lineup. So Glenn Benton, Steve Ashheim, and the Hoffman brothers on guitars. This was the last one to feature the original lineup, but what a brilliant way for that original lineup to go out. Like, this album, it just takes brutality to new heights. It's fast, it's ferocious, it's technical, it's wicked, it's twisted. Like, there's a lot of anger on this album. It's absolutely amazing. Like, you know, you just, when you listen to this album, the previous couple of albums or few albums sound a bit tired compared to this, but this is absolutely scorching. Like, brilliant technical guitar work, but it's also really catchy. Ferocious vocals, insane drumming. Yeah, I think it's one of the best, actually. I would say, you know, honestly, I would say like the first two albums are my favorite, and that's partly due to nostalgia, but I think if I was to say objectively speaking, this is the best album featuring the original lineup, in my opinion. Just show you the disc there. And here's the booklet. So sort of got a mini poster of the band and all of the lyrics there. Once again, the lyrics are very vitriolic and I don't take them too seriously. So, you know, it's more about the music, but it's fitting that theme with a lot of anger and everything. But like, again, no bad songs on this, but like some of my favorites, like musically and vocally, would be Scars of the Crucifix. That's got a really heavy, groovy, catchy riff, which is great. Mad at God is just extremely heavy and brutal. Also, yeah, Conquered by Sodom, like some of the vocal patterns in that, like, like it's just, it's incredibly brutal, and the guitar solos are nuts. Same with the song Fuck Your God. Again, I don't take the lyrics that seriously, but just so full of anger. And then When Heaven Burns, that's got an even, in my opinion, like kind of black metal feel with the melodies and everything, but like new levels of speed on that song again. And then what's one of my other favorites? The Pentecostal, the last track, with just some crazy rhythms and guitar solos on that, but like absolutely brilliant. But obviously, no bad tracks on this. I think it's one of their best, objectively, particularly with the original lineup. So definitely check this one out. Scars of the Crucifix. All right, so getting through this faster than I thought. 3 more to go. Okay, so after that, this is when the Hoffman brothers left the band, and then there was a slightly new lineup. So this album is The Stench of Redemption, which came out in 2006. So you see here the 2 new members, Ralph Santola on lead guitar and Jack Owen, previously of Cannibal Corpse. And Ralph Santola, he played in a whole load of bands, actually, and then went on to play with Obituary as well. Rest in peace, he was a great guitarist. This album, oh wow. I think a lot of people were a bit skeptical when the Hoffman brothers left because it had been the same lineup for so long. But then the 2 lead guitarists they got to replace them are just so super talented. And what this album features is new levels of brilliant lead guitar work. Like so rich and melodic, these solos, and so epic. It's almost like the guitar solos before was just like manic blasting, like quick interludes of insanity, but like on this album, the melodies and the guitar solos, it's like they're part of telling the story of the song. So like it takes on an even deeper significance, in my opinion. And yeah, that's because of Ralph and Jack, just amazing guitarists. And I heard that Glenn Benton actually said to them, when you're recording these solos, don't worry about time limits, just play for as long as you want and we'll see what happens. And that achieved great effects, some really epic solos on this album. By the way, it's brutal, typical brutal Deicide, but they went for a different style of production. Like the snare is a bit looser on this album, but it's just got this crisp blasting sound, which is fantastic. And just the riffs in these songs, so incredibly catchy. Like I'm always singing these riffs and they stick in my head. Absolutely amazing. So how many tracks you've got on this? 11, all good, so I can't complain about any of them. Like some of my favorites though are The Stench of Redemption, great vocal patterns in that song. Death to Jesus, great riff and catchy chorus. Desecration is a slower one and heavy, really haunting with the melodies. And actually when I saw the band live performing, that song just went off. It was great. Crucified for the Innocents is probably my favorite song on the album, just because the lead guitar work, the solo trade-offs are absolutely brilliant. Like just, oh, these melodies just blow my mind. They're fantastic. So that's why that song's my favorite. And then you've got some other tracks with really catchy riffs as well, like Walk with the Devil in Dreams You Behold and Homage for Satan. Just so, and then yeah, and what was the other one? The Lord's Sedition, like really, really catchy outro, like the chorus especially, like with the melody and the interplay with the vocals, absolutely fantastic. So this album is also one of their best. Like it would be hard for me to rank Deicide albums, except this would be probably in the top 3, I would say. Okay, so here you've got the disc, nice design as well, and yeah, booklet. These lyrics aren't that readable, but it's a nice layout anyway. Yeah, so I think this album quelled any doubts when people said it wasn't the original lineup anymore. Will it hold up? Yes, it certainly did. This was absolutely amazing. So brilliant album, in my top 3 by Deicide, even though I'm not doing an official ranking. That's the Stench of Redemption. Okay, now we're coming up to some latter day albums. So there was, after this one, there was an album called Till Death Do Us Part. I don't actually own that. I heard it a couple of times, and to be honest, I thought it was a little bit boring, but I don't think I gave it enough of a chance, so I'm not sure. What do you think? Do you like that album? Let me know your opinion on it. But I don't have it anyway. But then the next one I have, this is To Hell With God. I'm not sure. 2011, that's when this came out. So still the same lineup with Glenn Benton, Steve Ashheim, Jack Owen, and Ralph Santola. I love this album. Like this one was a subtle grower as well, but really amazing. Like just some of the production. That's the interesting thing about this band. Like they do shop around with different studios. Like they never did at the beginning. They always played with Morrisound, but like in later albums, like they go for different production styles and different sounds. And this one, it's got kind of like a, I don't know, again, like this kind of flat sound, like with the production, but like yeah, the sound of the drums and everything, like it's like at first I thought, oh, it sounds a bit weird, but actually later on I thought it was really awesome. So really like this album. Again, just some heavy, catchy riffs. Really, like, they're getting hookier and catchier as they get older, I think, and that's a great thing. Just some really memorable, catchy melodies. Great guitar solos once again from the lead guitar team. Oh, really just I feel like by this point they've just worked down their musicianship to a fine art. They know how to write really good songs. So it's always classic Deicide, but just with improved levels of musicianship, in my opinion. So really good album. Again, no bad songs on this. Just it's a great album. But some of my favorites are Savior, Witness of Death, Conviction, Empowered by Blasphemy has got a great catchy riff, and also like that the vocal part in the middle, like just so incredibly catchy. It's great. Also Angels of Hell and Hang in Agony Till You're Dead. So that's very subtle, but yeah, they're some of my favorites, but I've only named a few there, but all tracks on this album are great. Just show you the disc, and nice cover art as well. Okay, and lyric sheet with nice readable lyrics, and portraits of the band. Quite funny photos there. Yeah, but really good. If you haven't given this one a chance or you haven't heard it, I definitely recommend it. It's really good. And like I said, I always liked it at the beginning, but lately it's just really grown on me quite a lot. So another really good album by Deicide. So that's To Hell With God. All right, and the last one. This is one I actually picked up this year. This is the most recent. Again, another album which came out in between. This was In the Minds of Evil. I don't actually own that one. I haven't even heard it, to be honest, so I've really got to give that one a chance, but I think one day I'll get around to picking that one up. But this is one I picked up this year. This is Overtures of Blasphemy. I've mentioned this one in a collection update before, so don't need to say too much. Again, pointless slipcase. But yeah, you see with this album, I've mentioned this, they have the Trifiction logo again, so that's probably hinting at a return to the old sound. And what I like about this album is it definitely is a return to the old sound, like that you can hear aspects of the debut album and also Legion, but they're also, so there's those kind of technical songs, but at the same time, they're improving with their more modern levels of heaviness and melody in the guitar solos and everything. So it's just a brilliant blend of the old and the new. And I'll tell you what, I've been listening to this album a lot lately in the last couple of months, and it's really growing on me a lot. Like, the songs are starting to become more memorable. You know, when a song clicks with you and you actually start to get to know it really well. Yeah, really just a great album. I would say this is one of their best again, like really good. I don't dislike any of it. The production is perfect, it's heavy, and just every song is good. Of course, I have my favorites as standouts, but again, those standout songs are the majority. So awesome stuff. And you see here on the disc, so they have, it looks like a Trifiction on steroids, maybe Octafiction. I don't know, but yeah. Sorry guys, the video just cut out there for a moment. I don't know what happened. I think my phone's filling with memory, so I won't go on too much longer, but just show you the booklet. Really nice artwork and layout, readable lyrics. This album is just pure class in every respect, in my opinion, and it's just cementing their status as death metal veterans. Like, they've been doing this for 30 years now, so obviously they know what they're doing, and it definitely shows on this album. So absolutely brilliant stuff. Some of my favorite songs on this are One With Satan, the opening track, also Crawled From the Shadows. That is just so memorable because, like, it's got a really sort of the riff melody, the vocals impersonate the melody, you know, like go along with it. That's just one of the catchiest songs, Crawled From the Shadows. But also some of my other favorites, Seal the Tomb Below, Compliments of Christ, Excommunicated is a great track, so some warped solos in that and really great riffs. Also Anointed in Blood is good, Crucified Soul of Salvation, and Flesh Power Dominion. They're some of my favorites. I've named the majority, but again, no bad tracks on this album, but when the majority are standout tracks, you know it's a damn good album. So yeah, like I said, brilliant blend of the old and the new, and this is showing how the band has just honed their skills so much to be one of the greatest death metal bands of all time, in my opinion. So definitely check this out if you haven't. That's Deicide with Overtures of Blasphemy. Alright, so that concludes this video. So I've just gone through 8 Deicide albums that I own. As I said, I can't rank them because I don't own all of the albums, but obviously you can see I'm a big fan of this band. So yeah, definitely check out all of these albums. I would say, like, even in Torment and Hell is worth a look, but you can obviously tell which ones are some of my favorites. So anyway, tell me, what do you think of this band? What's some of your favorite albums? Those other albums I don't own, like In the Minds of Evil, do you recommend them? Let me know. Alright, I'm going to be back again soon with another video. I have an idea for that one, which is going to remain a surprise for now, but something different. I'm going to be talking about my existing collection, but something random in that, so that'll be up in the next video. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hopefully you made it through this video without getting too bored, and once again, thanks for all your support of the channel. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video and you haven't subscribed yet, and I hope you guys continue to watch. So in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.